There we go.
This, Thank you. I apologise for the lateness of our start. It's closed at 7 o'clock. That's okay. I'll call on the CEO, please, to read the opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In a first for this council and I believe in regional Victoria, I'd like to say that all council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video recording is focused on this area here, being the councillors and staff, while audio from the entire room may be captured. By speaking during question time or at any time, you consent to your voice and any comments you make being recorded. The entire recording will be live streamed on the internet and made available on Council's website at alpineshire.vic.gov.au after the meeting. This process is designed to improve access and transparency of Council's decision making to all of our community. And I should also add that historically people have wanted our meeting minutes to be more verbatim, so this process will also ensure that our business here is fully transparent and fully captured. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, if we could all stand, please, for the acknowledgement.
The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we are now on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community, and we strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all.
Commence the meeting, confirmation of the previous minutes. Ordinary Council meeting M12. Councillor Keeble. Move those accepted. Councillor Farrell, thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Recommendation of the Special Council meeting M13. Recommend that the minutes of the Special Council meeting held on the 17th of December 2015 as circulated be confirmed.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Councillor Barnard. Farrell. Apologies, Councillor Roper is away and unable to attend this meeting. Are there any other apologies? Obituaries and congratulations. Thanking the I'll read.
Congratulations.
Just a moment.
While you're looking, I do have a congratulations, and that's to the Rotary Club of Myrtleford for the running of the Australia Day ceremony. It's a great day, great morning, beautiful weather, and great barbecue. Thanks over by Park.
On hand cooking sausages. Councillor Keeble.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. For congratulations firstly to the Shire outdoor staff and Shire senior management staff in regards to the response in the Kirra Valley Mount Beauty after last Thursday's storms, with the clean-ups, quick responses in getting the building secured and working with the residents in that area that were affected. So congratulations to them and thank you to them. I know there's more to do and I know they're going to be working during the week to clear the rest of the debris, but everything was secured there on the Friday, so thank you. Some other congratulations I have would be to congratulate the 2016 Australia Day Shire Community Award winners. Just, if I may go through them quickly.
Yes.
Local Achiever of the Year, Kirra Valley, was Keith Pike. Local Achiever of the Brighton District was Ian Stapleton. Local Achiever of the Myrtleford District was Tiffany Iria. Local Achiever of the Kerr Valley was Kenton Ford. That's a young achiever. Community Event of the Year was Dedarang Picnic Races. Community Organisation of the Year was Burkamara Ski Club Search and Rescue. Lifetime Ian Stapleton. We'd also like to acknowledge and congratulate a number of local residents who were recognised in the National Australia Day Awards. They include Judy Brewer, Order of Australia, Malcolm Milne, Medal of the Order of Australia, Valerie McPherson, Medal of the Order of Australia, and George McPherson, Medal of the Order of Australia. Congratulations. Thank you. Great achievement.
May I also congratulate the through you?
Yes,
Yeah? Yes.
I think yes.
I'd like to thank the Bright Rotary Club for serving 450 people down at the Howard Park. It was a fantastic achievement. We also had a new flag raising ceremony as well too, which was terrific. And the Harrowville community too. It was a fantastic event. And congratulations to our Citizen of the Year, Ian Stapleton. Thank you.
And if we have one more, the Australia Day Awards, the Lions Club, Upper Valley Lions Club for all their work in regards to the Australia Day Awards, getting that organised and running successfully. Thank you.
Any further?
Yes, thank you. While we're on the congratulations, I think the committee out at the Mudgeegomba Hall do a fabulous job, and I did make mention when I was out there that it's nice to go out there because they actually serve the breakfast on a plate with a knife and fork. So I thought it was rather good.
Yeah, I'd just like to concur with Councillor Farrell's comments on the great job Rotary did down at our local on the river, which was a new gig too, and I think it worked pretty well going by about the amount of meals they served down there. Thank you to the RSL for assisting us in the flag raising, or assisting Rotary who managed it, and I thought they picked a good MC, and Adam Lindsay did a fantastic job, so great day down by the river.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to, and I'd like to acknowledge Harrowville too, who have done a fantastic job up there every year for many, many years.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, we'll continue on to the next item. Declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. Are there any? Item 7, question time. I'd just like to reiterate that this is question time. I understand that sometimes to get that question out there might have to be a statement. I understand that, but if those statements could be held to a minimum and be relevant to the question, please. I'll take questions. And I would also ask that even though we may know you and met you 100 times, but for recording purposes, if you could state your name, please, as when you ask your first series of questions. Thank you. I'll start question time. I'll start with Mr. Finlay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Alan Finlay is my name. I'm a resident of the Alpine Shire. I live in Robin. I do have a letter here that I'd like to present to you, sir, if I may.
If that letter could be given to one of the officers, please.
You mind if I stand here to present?
Probably over there, Mr. Finlay, thank you.
Would you like to read my letter first before I start?
Would you like that letter read in public, Mr. Finlay, or would you want, is that the intention for councillors to read that individually?
That's addressed to you, sir, so whichever way you want to do it.
Is it? Okay, thank you. Sorry, just for the gallery's notice, this letter is addressed to myself, so I'll just take a minute to read that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Finlay. I've read your correspondence. If you have a question in relation to anything further.
Thanks, sir. My question, I have 6 questions. The first one, is there an Alpine Shire councillor representative on the 2016 Bright Autumn Festival?
I'll refer to the CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm looking at the Director of Sustainable Development, we have no official councillor nominee to that committee.
Thank you. Question 2 is directed through the chair to Councillor Kate Farrell. Under what authority are you able to, as a councillor of the Alpine Shire, able to question my personal qualifications on a local community committee, example, the 2016 Bright Autumn Festival?
Councillor Farrell, you can reply if you wish.
Thank you, Alan. I'd like to have a private meeting with you, with one of the other councillors present, please. If you'd like to do that, thank you.
You're not answering my question, is that what you're telling me?
I
Through the
was,
chair, sir, sorry.
excuse me, through, Mayor,
I think if you don't wish to answer the question at this point in time, Councillor Farrell, that's your prerogative.
I'd rather not answer the question. I was at the Autumn Council Committee meeting under Kate Farrell, not councillor. I made that quite clear the other day.
Qualifications, especially around working with
Green, that the Autumn Festival Committee, all the committee members have working with children's certificates as required under the Act. Thank you, Alan. And I would also, again, I'm expressing that we have a private meeting with the Mayor and myself. No further comment.
Question 4. Why was this email sent to all committee members on the 2016 Bright Autumn Festival Committee and not to me alone, as it was addressed to me only?
Alan, your behaviour at that meeting was abhorrent, and I'm terribly sorry. A lot of people on that committee were quite appalled afterwards at the way you addressed me at that meeting. I have had a number of people on that committee come to me and complain about your own conduct, and you, again, I'm asking you to have a private meeting with you, Alan.
Question 5. What influence does the Alpine Shire Council have over the 2016 Bright Autumn Festival Committee?
Yes, I'll answer that through the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will look to the Director of Sustainable Development, but do we offer funding for the committee, for the event?
Yeah,
Yes,
logistics and
for
those.
logistics. So, in that we offer funding for the event, it is typical that people would enter into a legal agreement with us around that funding, and that would compel some obligations in response for the support or money that we provide. So it normally means that the money we provide, the committee does what they say they were going to do with the money.
Okay, yep. Question 6, Mr. Mayor. I understand this is a short statement, and then I ask the question. As this incident has caused enormous embarrassment, in particular to myself, having been approached by members of the community and also members of the 2016 Bright Autumn Festival Committee, Councillor Farrell, are you prepared to make a public apology?
Alan, as I said before, your conduct at that particular meeting was appalling. You addressed me atrociously. And I just feel that I was there as Kate Farrell. I'm going public with this because your behaviour, again, was not appropriate at that meeting, and quite a few of the committee have come to me and complained about your own behaviour. Thank you, Alan. No further comment. I would prefer, again, to have a meeting with you privately with the Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Finlay.
Thanks, Mayor.
Do you have any further questions?
No, that'll be fine, thanks.
Thank you. I'll move on to further questions. Representative from the UKCBA.
I'm Beth Smith and I'm representing the Upper Kiewa Valley Community Association tonight. I have 2 short questions. I looked up the library updates on the website tonight. Are there any further is there any further news about what's happening with the library, or is that too soon to ask?
Good question.
Good question. Through the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope it's apparent to the Kiva Valley community that we have been acting swiftly on this matter, and accordingly we did discuss it further with Council tonight. I will perhaps look at the Director of Corporate Performance to provide a more detailed update on the relocation options that we are pursuing.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, we have discussed that tonight, and in particular, yes, the relocation of the library. I guess Council have considered several options, and the one that's favoured at the moment is the auditorium next to the VIC. And look, we're looking at that very seriously. We're aware that there are some issues with that, particularly given that I think it was only in December we gave a pledge to the community that we wouldn't integrate services, and that's what this looks like, potentially. That's not the case. As I said, we've considered 3 options, and we're looking to move into that, potentially that facility within the next 2 weeks. And I guess the reasoning around that is the zero cost virtually to counselling associated with that option, minimal modifications required, and I guess importantly the fact that we can move book stock in there immediately and begin drying that out. So that's been seriously looked at. There is one other option that we're just potentially having a look at, but that's probably it. In the meantime, we're offering council customer services at the VIC, and that's in the mornings for the rest of this week and most likely next. We're posting a sign, I guess describing just that on the library site so anyone can see what's going on. And also we are liaising with the High Country Library Corporation. At the end of the day, they are still the ones providing the service, to issue a letter out to all library members just describing to them what the arrangements are.
If it moves into the auditorium, will that preclude people hiring the auditorium?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that needs to be worked through, and we certainly have those conversations with all of those people who might have bookings.
And I must say, the clean-up from the council has been fantastic so far. The tree debris was enormous. My second question is, what's happening with the yellow slide?
Greetings, Matt. The yellow slide will be removed from the playground at the foreshore.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Where is it going?
Where I don't know the stage. I need to resolve that.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, in common with all assets that we dispose of, we will go through a public process in disposing of those assets, which can involve anything from selling it on eBay or the costs of making the slide safe, which are in excess of the cost of purchasing a new slide. Now, when I say things like that, it's not to do with the height of the slide, but it's to do with particularly the stairway access and other things. And we reasonably exhaustively looked at the cost of fixing that, so I suspect it will find its way to someone's backyard at some point in time.
Thank you.
Can I just add two things to Beth's questions, if I may, Mr. Mayor? Beth, I'm disappointed. I thought maybe you were after the slide yourself when you were president.
I love that slide.
We all love that slide. The second one is, in regards to your first question, the library, Council is well aware of the resolution of the community to keep the library where it is, and that's where it's going to go. In the meantime, there'll be, as we know, not a disruption, but the library has to be put somewhere.
Yeah, look, I understand.
Yeah, so just as long as the community are aware that the resolution is still upheld in Council.
Thank you.
Can I just reinforce Councillor Keeble's point? We would hate, and we know we have the support of the Upper Keeble Valley Association in reinforcing that this is no underhand move by Council to covertly relocate the library. It is we explored 3 locations with one further to explore, and really it boils down to a matter of how quickly we can relocate the library, how much it will cost, and how good the end experience will be. Every single one of those options, of course, had positives and negatives. The best place for the library is in the library building, And there is impacts of every option, and what we are trying to do as always is get the best outcome, minimise cost and minimise impact.
Mr Mayor, can I just make a comment, please? Sorry. Mr Beth, as Chair of High Country Library Corporation, obviously the building is Shire's, but for the books and collection, if you have any complaints or you hear of anyone that's got a problem with, borrowing books or whatever, can you just refer them to me and I'll try and see what we can do until we're set up, we might be able to get some books over somehow. But just if you could just refer them on to me, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Lomax. That's any further questions from Beth? No, that's it. Sorry, sir, Mr. Dyer, jump in front there. Mr. Dyer.
My name's Ray Dyer, resident of Mummins Valley, all my life. On the last two occasions, council meetings, I've spoken about the minutes not being written up correctly, especially questions on. I have a problem again this month. Because the questions I asked, bear with me. 10 years to get the toilets right, Rotary Park is still leaking water. I didn't speak about Rotary Park. I spoke about the Rotary slide here in Bright, Centenary Park. The urinal is leaking water. I also spoke, what's happening when the Myrtleford landfill fails at 3 metres high? I didn't say they're 3 metres high, I said they're 3 high. I also spoke about the fire risk out there at the Myrtleford landfill. Did I not? There's no mention of the Myrtleford landfill here, of the fire risk. There's also no mention of the minutes not being written up correctly, which I spoke about last month too. What's going on?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Dyer, they are the minutes as we have recalled them, and they are a summary of the conversations that were had by Council. I do recall you mentioning the fire hazard, and
I'm speaking to the municipal fire commission officer, which I've been trying.
I'm unaware why that has not been mentioned.
No, 2 months I've been trying.
It's on record now. That's one of the beauties of the new system.
So the toilets, they're still not up to scratch, 10 years. And nobody's acknowledged that in Shire at all. They're totally ignoring that the toilets haven't been up to standard for 10
That's
years.
an objective view, Mr. Dyer.
No, it's not me. I'm saying straight out what's going on.
Your view about the toilets is objective, sir.
November meeting, Mr. Mayor, when I spoke about the need for toilets, you spoke that the toilets have been spoken about how much we want to talk about and sit down. That's not how you talk about the toilets. You have taken 10 years to get those toilets right and they're still not right. What's going on?
Mr.
That's
Dyer,
due to leave.
I'm glad you've told us which ones they are this time. Mr. CEO.
Mr. Mayor, as we I think frequently say at council meetings, we respect and acknowledge Mr. Dyer's long-held passion about the public amenities of the Shire. We do try and support that passion along with the $184 million of other assets that we also need to maintain. As I've said in the past, I believe we've afforded Mr. Dyer more meeting opportunities with myself and the directors than any other ratepayer, including on-site meetings related to the toilets. So I'm disappointed that Mr. Dyer feels we still fall short of the standards expected, and we will continue to ensure that we address the toilet functionality across the Shire, and we admire his heightened passion for this area that is above and beyond that we expect and see from any other ratepayers. So thank you, Mr. Dyer.
I have one more question. I have a letter here from you today. I would like to know what happened to the 700 letters that I've put in the last couple of months. As to what's happened to them, have you held them up and not given them to those people, the employees of the Shire?
Mr. CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think I outlined in my letter that every item of correspondence that arrives in this organisation is directed to me, and I then direct them forwards as so see fit. I would make a judgment that anyone that sends 17 letters to 17 different officers is not entitled to 17 different meetings with those staff members, and that would be a non-meritorious use of ratepayer funds and of the rates that everyone else in the room is paying. So what I have instead offered is for you to meet with me and the Mayor and provided 3 dates that we will go through the issues. But certainly we don't afford someone who requests 17 to 25 hours of meetings in a letter the opportunity to meet with all of the staff. That would be, of course, anyone that's worked in an organisation would realise that is not going to have a good outcome and not in the best interests of the good, decent ratepayers of this shire.
So you haven't referred those letters on to those employees?
No,
You've kept them?
of course, yes.
And Mr Mayor, the next question is to you. The same as all the councillors. Have you referred the councillors not to get back to me, or is the councillors' wills?
I have not, Mr Dyer, I have not directed the councillors one way or the other. If they wish to meet with you, they are entitled to meet with you. The correspondence that is received at this office is placed into a correspondence box for each councillor. And there are times where that box is not opened until the night of a council meeting. That is the process in this office, and whether those councillors have each received your letter, I am unaware, but that is the process. I did receive yours. Esteemed Councillor Keeble received yours late this evening, as he was late, and I assumed then that all the other councillors have received your correspondence.
That's good. And there's no influence, so they're holding back, no influence from the Shire holding them back.
There is no influence from the Shire to hold back correspondence from you to councillors.
Has things changed with the meeting of councillors now on Saturday morning?
I beg your pardon?
We used to be able to meet with councillors on a Saturday morning to notify the Shire. It's in the 2015 community booklet.
I've had no request, sir, to meet with you on a Saturday morning.
I'm asking if it's still operational, whether it's still...
That would be up to each councillor and their availability to meet with the ratepayer.
I'm asking whether that is still valid with the 2015 community...
I can't answer that, sir, I'm unsure.
No, you don't know. All right, thank you very much.
Mr Mayor, can I make a statement, please?
Yes.
To Mr Dyer, I will not be meeting with you. I'll make it public here and now. I will not be meeting with you at any time, now or in the future. Thank you.
Would you like to put that in writing?
I have it's public.
I'd also like to say too, Ray, I'm not meeting with you. I know there's a meeting set up between you and the CEO and the Mayor. I actually go down on Saturday mornings, every Saturday morning in Bright, in the main street, and I spend most of that morning talking to residents. They come to me and we have quite a lot of discussions. Out of those concerns, I pass them on to very relevant officers. I do that because I'm concerned and I'm the server of the people of the Alpine Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, we'll move on to another questions, thank you. Gentleman over here.
David Priestley. I'm the chairman of the Friends of Bright Library, and we're a bit concerned about ongoing rumours that seem to float to the surface every now and then about the information centre being moved up to the library, which is practically impossible. We're a bit concerned because these rumours keep floating to the surface, and we're wondering where they're coming from.
Thank you, Mr Priestley. The CEO can address that one.
Through you, Mr Mayor, one of the things that I would love to be able to do in this job is to quash the occasional rumour that arises, but unfortunately it's difficult. I can assure you that I feel I'm across nearly everything that happens in this organisation, and I don't recall even the slightest mention of anything along those lines. So to say that it is a rumour, it would be, to me, beyond any mention. So it's a totally unfounded rumour. like a rumour I heard during last summer that every staff member had been given a day off to go floating down the river, or the list goes on. I can only hazard a guess that this has come from potentially there was a conversation with the Mount Beauty community around joining their library and visitor information centre together, where council ultimately determined that that would not occur. If I look at the circumstance in Bright, based on the visitation to the Bright Information Centre, the space it needs to occupy, the visitation to the library, we have had no conversation about it, and in my mind it is very, even if we were to contemplate it for a second, it is very quickly disregarded because it makes no sense. So I suppose I could simply answer it by saying it is a rumour without any truth that I frequently hear as well. I don't know how to stop it. It's just untrue.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Can I just say that there's one way of stopping this rumour? Dave, you put up a notice in the library from the Friends of Library saying that you've contacted council, this rumour is unsubstantiated, and that should, coming from the Friends of the Library, that should
Will do.
go far in squashing that rumour.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bonner, for that practical advice. Mr. Priestley, are there any further questions?
Yes, I've got one more. This is part statement and part question. When I was previously in another life a Shire councillor in the Upper Hunter, we all had ridings. Now I know this was discussed at council and decided not to go ahead with that, but one of the reasons was that each councillor had designated areas where they would attend meetings, where they would talk to ratepayers and that sort of thing. So the ratepayers knew which councillors to go and talk to. Here it seems a little bit different because...
Councillors that you referred to required under the Local Government Act, and specifically Section 80A of the Act, is included in every council meeting agenda, and you will find it on page 19 of this month's agenda. So what that compels is that when a certain number of councillors and staff members meet, that needs to be recorded. Your first question related to ridings, or wards as they are known in Victoria. Every more than 4 years, that's about every 12 years, there is a review of our electoral boundaries and whether or not the council area should remain unsubdivided. That last review was completed in the last 12 months. You may recall at the time council had disdain for the, I think, $35,000 that was spent on completing this review, and the recommendation was external review, not under our control, and that determined that there would be no wards in this municipality. So I guess what I'm saying is the presence of wards or non-presence is something that is entirely outside of council's control, and the reviews that occur in relation to that are entirely outside of council's control, and indeed the cost of those reviews are outside of our control. Incidentally, that last review did recommend that the rural city of Wangaratta go to a subdivided municipality, and they are then accordingly compelled to introduce wards, but we have been determined that that's not the best for us, by people that we don't see.
Thank you, Mr. Priestley. Are there any further questions? Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for the gallery. Mark Phillips, proprietor of Country Collective from Bright. I'd like to ask some questions to the Bright Better Places plan or concept that's been placed in the public gallery. I have many concerns about the plan. First of all, the first question is, why does council think it's necessary to further put more bike racks in the medium strip in the centre of part of town, very close to the roundabout, when we presently have 14 bike racks in 7 locations located in Island Street now that are very underutilised? I have concerns about the flow of traffic coming with the connectivity from the bike path to this new bike port that is proposed, and that traffic and that level of
bikes going across around the roundabout, they have to cross 4 intersections before they get to Gavin Street. They can only, if they traverse down Anderson Street, which is highway on the left of Prestonwood, they only have to traverse over 2 intersections. I'm very concerned as a retailer in Bright about the high level of bikes that we already have on our footpaths, coinciding with an extremely dog-friendly place and a huge level of pedestrian flow. I'm questioning whether the risk assessments done by Shire have addressed the potential liability, future liabilities, not only for the Shire, but for those businesses as well. As I've had many people exit my shop being hit by bicycles. I have no refuge island outside, which was proposed, by the way, in the previous plan. There was a refuge island at the front of my shop, which I sacrificed the car park for, to make it safe for people coming from that medium strip to cross in front of my shop. At the moment, they cross and they hit a tree and 2 bike racks. It's an extraordinarily dangerous situation, and I only believe that this problem will enhance it. We've become awfully bike-centric in Bright over the last few years. Our previous tourism guide, that's all he wanted to talk about. We couldn't get an audience with him with anything else. Now I'm imploring the Shire to relook at this plan. I think it's really misdirected. I think the best way to treat Bright is to feed into Bright from Will Street and Burke Street car park. That's where it is. Encourage pedestrian flow. But we have an awful amount of pets in Bright. We have an awful amount of gopher vehicles in Bright. And in all seriousness, Shire, I know the Rangers do not police this. Neither do the Bright Police. It's a big problem. You can't police it, guys. You haven't got the staff, the money or anything to police it. So I believe the mitigation process that you need to undertake in assessing the risk, I think you need to go back and have a look at this. This was heavily discussed over the previous 4 years with a community consultative group that was engaged by Ian Nicol, who I believe did a fantastic job in a consultative approach that he took to them. Now, I have real concerns about adding more bike facilities in town, and as I said, not putting in the proper refuge islands and directing flow. I know where the flow of traffic from this is going to come. It's going to come straight across in front of my shop. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen bicycles clipped by motor vehicles and pedestrians clipped by motor vehicles. The design of the new roundabout, if I stand on there, I have a power pole obstructing my view to Anderson Street. I have a flagpole obstructing my view to Anderson Street. I have a massive obelisk obstructing my view. And now we're going to see further tree and foliage put around there. So how does a pedestrian standing on that refuge wanting to cross to the front of my shop, looking left, see what's coming around that roundabout? The neglect of Anderson. 3 traffic studies performed within the last 7 years. 1 commissioned by the Alpine Shire, 2 commissioned privately, all heard at VCAT. The common thread with those reports was that Anderson Street is so underutilised, it does not command pedestrian traffic, it creates a huge disconnect, and yet we are continuing to neglect this as a community. We have 2 towns, Gavin Street, Island Street, and it's disconnected. It needs to be addressed. And putting further bike racks or putting capital resources into further bike racks, when I've just explained that we have 14 of them in 7 locations, all within 150 metres, surely resources can go into addressing some of the issues in Anderson Street. I don't think the upheaval of this plan is necessitated, particularly with the resources on hand at the moment in all forms of government. I'd like to discuss it further if I may wish. Okay, it only came out in very early December. I was given 2 weeks to comment. I'm a retailer in December through January in Bright, and I'm sorry, but I'm coming off an enormous high from 35 dozen eggs, 450 sausages, and 30 kilos of bacon. So unfortunately, I haven't had the time to reply formally, but Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. I hope you've taken some cholesterol tablets. I don't mean to make light of your comment, and I do take them seriously.
No, I think
And I know we had a conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
Mr. Barry, would you care
Yeah,
to
Mr.
reply?
Mayor, I think the concerns raised by Mr. Phillips are, we will hear any concerns at any time, and it's absolutely not too late to hear those concerns. I may in a minute just ask the Director to talk through the community consultation time frame associated with this project, but regardless, we recognise that sometimes people have other things on, and we're happy to listen to their concerns. No doubt many of which are legitimate and which we will respond to and change as we have in response to feedback across our other towns. There is a risk though here in that obviously on one hand we have, as sometimes happens, we have an enormous amount of people pushing for more bike visitors to our municipality. It seems to be one of our high growth areas, and on the other hand we recognise that that's not there's a converse view.
Dave, if I may interrupt, make a comment that is in a high growth area from bike visitation. The information that I look at from the Australian Bureau of Statistics on visitation, Australian Tourism Research, and what I would consider not a great deal of capital investment from the private sector in Bright, doesn't really suggest to me that the high level of push bike investment in Bright is materialising in what you have just suggested.
I'm merely saying to you the views that we hear, not the views of council.
I look towards the evidence and the data.
No, for sure, and as should
Not
we.
hearsay.
For us, we discussed this earlier on in the briefing session, and I guess I suppose I should speak frankly as we always like to do. One of the challenges is now, as we know, council is very flush with cash through some changes that we have made, and we are in a very unique and fortunate position in local government on that front. That means that we are able to heavily invest across all of our townships. We have a number of precincts, and you've identified 3 in Bright, or at least 2, being Gavin Street, Barnard and Mafeking, that are earmarked for work, and in the longer term, Anderson Street as well. For council, the challenge in March will be to prioritise when those works happen. At this point in time, council has prioritised works in and around Mafeking Square because there has been a concern that, as you say, all of the growth in Bright is happening in Gavin Street, or a lot of it is, and we're seeking to ensure that that balance is right and that we continue to invest in both precincts. So come March, we will make a decision on which projects to pursue first. In the interim, we will talk with yourself, and if we're unable to determine, reach a suitable outcome in around the Mafeking Square area, we are happy to take more time to reach a suitable outcome. We're happy to take that time. I guess the reason I mention this is I need to be clear that Mafeking Square is earmarked for next year, so if we need to take more time, that will have to be pushed to the following year in terms of expenditure, which I think is, if the community wants that, that is what we will do. But it is, as far as we've looked at the moment, the plans are largely in line with the plans adopted in 2013. It's probably disappointing that we haven't delivered this project that has been designed since 2001. But if there are concerns held in common like yourselves, Mr. Phillips, we will take further time to make sure that we meet the needs of retailers and of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, and I'm sure that if you wish to converse with staff here, that a meeting can be arranged with appropriate up-to-date plans for you to peruse in consultation with the staff, and that can happen now that business has eased off a little bit. Okay.
Can I say, I hope our track record in listening to these concerns is taken seriously in relation to things like trees in Anderson Street, in relation to the Holland Street issues in Mount Beauty and others, the library issue where we've listened and changed our plans, and that is what we're currently that's why we seek feedback, so we can hear what people want to change. But conversely, we also need to make sure that we act in the best interest of the wider community and that we make difficult decisions as well if they're required.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Mr. Dyer.
Dave.
Last one.
Yeah. I
Nice.
sent a letter to you on the 22nd of October, stating about the condition of the toilets, the minutes of the meetings, and also the customer request forms, not working properly.
Mr. Dyer, I think if we have that meeting with you, we can discuss those issues
So
at
I
that.
don't wait that long, I've been waiting nearly 12 months.
Well, so you have 3 dates there to nominate to have a meeting with myself and the CEO. We look forward to that correspondence being returned to us with a suitable date ticked, and we will adjust our diaries accordingly.
So you think that 10 years for toilets not being cleaned properly?
You are given, Mr. Dyer, you are given another opportunity to respond, sir. Thank you. We'll move on with our meeting. Presentation of reports by officers. 8.1, Chief Executive Dave Barry. Thanks, Dave.